Well, the Reverend Elaine Burley joins us now as we get set for a tropical storm. Hopefully, it is nothing more than a tropical storm as it makes its way, Cristobal, to Louisiana. And Reverend Elaine Burley, Office of Missional Outreach and Engagement, you have been eyeing this storm, you have been monitoring this storm. What is your message to the churches and the congregations and to the good United Methodists in Louisiana as this storm approaches? What are some things that perhaps we should be doing now?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you asking this question because it's so important to take this time to prepare. A good preparation will make the difference between surviving a hurricane or being a victim of a hurricane. And hopefully, like you said, this is just a weak tropical storm, but it does have the possibility for becoming a significant rainmaker. And we've all had too much experience in recent years with floods, and we don't want to go down that road again. So this is the time to prepare. And first of all, make sure you've got a communications plan. Know how to get in touch with the people in your congregation and your staff. And a special message just to our pastors, please make sure you contact your DS after the storm passes to let him or her know what your status is. If you've had to evacuate, your DS needs to know how to get in touch with you. You probably have made good progress in updating your contact lists because you have had this disruption caused by the pandemic. Just make sure that you've got the most current information. I think this is also a good idea, a good time to talk to your insurance agent. Make sure your insurance policies are adequate for the risks that you might be taking. If you don't already have flood insurance, it's too late to get it for this storm, but this is going to be an active season. We're likely to see many more storms in the Gulf. And so I would definitely suggest looking into that for the future. After the storm passes, evaluate your own situation, you and your family, make sure you're safe, and then go check on your church and on your members. After you know that everyone is safe, I want to encourage you to drive around the community and look to see what damage has happened there. And if you find neighbors who are in need of help, by all means, help them. Call members of your church and help remove debris or shore up a fence that has fallen. There is no need to get permission to go into your own community for help. But as always, I do ask that before you leave your community and go someplace else in Louisiana to help, check with me or Bob Dyke first to make sure that that community has the capacity to host you. If their infrastructure has been badly damaged, then your presence there could just cause more harm than help.
Elaine, that is a good question, or one that I wanted to ask you. What is the process like for how and when ERT teams will be deployed in Louisiana?
So right after the storm, we have our district disaster response coordinators who are specifically tasked with driving around the community or the communities in their region and assessing the damage. They then take pictures and send those on to me and Bob Dyke, and we will make the decision of whether or not to deploy our trained ERTs. Our ERTs are not to self-deploy until they hear from us. They're to stay put and help in their own community.
Elaine, we are living now, obviously, in a post-COVID 19 world. And you mentioned earlier about staying in touch with people. I think one of the upsides, if I could even use that term, is that many pastors and many churches have updated their contact lists. They now have a way to get in touch with as many people as possible. And I think that's going to be critical as we prepare for hurricane season, right?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the key components of being a community, a church community, is checking in on your people and making sure you're there to help each other. You can't do that if you can't be in touch with them. So know how to get in touch with your folks and even encourage them to call you if they need help. This is the time to send those messages to our folks.
Well, Elaine, 2020 is turning into quite a year, isn't it? Give us a good word as we as we prepare for hurricane season in the midst of everything that's going on?
Well, it seems like we have been hit by one plague after another. But if we remember the biblical story, God led Moses and his people out of Egypt and through the wilderness, and they became a new and stronger people because of their experience. And I know that we are familiar with hurricanes. We've done this many times before, but we've never done it in the middle of a pandemic. So this is new to everybody. I do want to encourage you to remember that spreading the virus is still a real possibility, a real risk. And so as you go out to help neighbors, wear your mask, practice social distancing and good hand hygiene. If you end up having to evacuate someplace else, make sure you pack masks and hand sanitizers along with everything else you would normally evacuate with. But you know, we're going to make it through this. We always do with the help of God, and we will this time too.
And we will, of course, be monitoring the storm. And if we need to do this again, we will. But in the meantime, I thank you so very much for your time, Elaine. God
Thanks, Todd,
bless.
and y'all stay safe.